Welcome to the Voice of San Antonio podcast. I'm Ellie Morrison, and I'm joined today by Krystal Jones, who's the director of the Department of Arts and Culture for the city of San Antonio. We're sitting here in the Centro de Artes. It's a city-owned gallery in the heart of Market Square, and we're going to talk about San Antonio's creative economy and the arts and culture in our beautiful, vibrant city. So, Krystal, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk about art.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, San Antonio is such a collaborative city. It's such a creative city. And I love talking to you about what you do to support and facilitate the growth of our creatives and their careers in San Antonio. Can you share a little bit about how your department supports artists in San Antonio and art in general?
Yeah, so we have a number of ways that we support artists and also arts organizations. So we have some core divisions in our business, and one of those is public art. So we have a public art program that is a Percent for Art program. So every capital improvement project that you see in San Antonio, whether it's a street project or a drainage project, 1.5% of that project goes to public art development. And so our team is in charge of working with community to establish what do they want to see with public art, working with artists to then make that vision come to life alongside the community. And then, of course, my favorite part, dedicating the art piece so everybody can enjoy it. And so that's a big part of our business, which is really visible because it's out in the community and always accessible. We also have our grants management division. So we provide about $8 million directly to community, nonprofit arts organizations, and also artists. So artists are getting $7,500 to $15,000, depending on the complexity of their project. They get to work for a year and a half on a project that they've dreamed up themselves. They've applied for the grant, they received the grant, and the requirement is to have a new project that's then provided to the public, whether it's an exhibition, maybe a theatrical production, a film, and that's the requirement that we have so that San Antonio residents and visitors can really experience that. That's a direct way that we, support artists, but then our arts nonprofit support so many artists. And so that funding that we give them for operational support helps make that happen for our artists as well.
I think it'd be probably good for us to let everybody know and clarify, what types of art are within your department and what do you support? Because you mentioned film and you mentioned other art. So what forms of art do you have within your department that you support?
Every genre that you can think of, we can cover it, especially because a lot of our artist grants are multidisciplinary arts. So you have music, theater, performance art, you have visual art, which San Antonio has a lot of visual art, of course. You have filmmaking. I mean, there's puppetry. I mean, it's anything that you can imagine that has some kind of artistic expression. We're here to help support that.
And now, does your department grant these organizations? Because I think a lot of people don't even know that this is an option or if this exists.
Yes, so we do. So we work with hotel occupancy tax, and we get 15% of hotel occupancy tax that comes to San Antonio. And what we do is we take that money and then we do open grant programs. So we have a few core grant programs. One for nonprofits is for nonprofits that have been in existence for at least 3 years. They have 3 years of IRS 990 expenses, and they have a core mission of arts and culture. And they can apply for that grant that will give them operational expenses. That is a percentage of their expenses on an annual basis. And that's to provide programming year long that's available to residents and visitors. And we have 41 organizations that we give operational support. So it's anywhere from the San Antonio Museum of Art to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center, Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, Conjunto Heritage Taller, the Museum, the Witty. I mean, it's everything that you can imagine. American Indians in Texas at the Spanish colonial missions. We're really supporting the development of arts and culture that's available to residents and visitors. But then another really great grant we have is, again, for organizations that are nonprofits, but they don't have to be arts focused. So you could have a neighborhood association that has a porch fest or a lawn fest, and it's for an event. So it's one event, and organizations that are nonprofits can apply for a grant of up to 20% of that event's budget. And we will provide that funding so that they can have an artistic event, even if they're not arts focused. And we have 23 grantees in that category. And these are 3-year grants, because we want organizations to be able to be sustainable and not spend all their time applying for grants. We want them to know that, okay, for a 3-year period, you're going to be getting this funding from the city as long as we have hotel occupancy tax. And then we have the artist grants. So this fiscal year, we're actually funding 54 individual artists.
Wow.
That means 54 projects will be released out into the community. And we have some outstanding artists that use traditional art spaces, but also non-traditional art spaces like parks or restaurants or coffee shops. And so they're presenting and exhibiting and unveiling their projects as part of this artist grant. So that's another way that we support.
Wow. Well, one of the things that I think when you and I first met, we really were excited about and we bonded over was our mutual love of an inspiration of San Antonio and the arts and culture and the vibrancy and just that something you can't really articulate, that feel that's magical here.
Yes.
And as somebody who, I grew up here and I'm from here, but as somebody who didn't grow up here, I'm really curious to know your personal inspiration and your mission in your role and how you kind of champion the growth of this creative economy in San Antonio.
I'm very, very fortunate for how I grew up because it gave me a perspective of what it's like to live in a place that doesn't necessarily invest in art or even have any venues for art. I'm from a village of 2,000 people in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. Beautiful place to be, born, raised, and then to just kind of explore the world from. So I always knew that, I wanted to explore the world being in a small village. And once I moved to San Antonio, my eyes were just open. It was like I was seeing color for the first time. It was like, I was seeing these museums like, oh my gosh, this is just so beautiful, this public art. And understanding the value of knowing that this art is accessible to me at any time and wanting to provide that to others. Because, growing up in a place where you're at least an hour and a half to the next major city.
Yeah.
And also being in a place that, is not, it's really economically challenged there.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up thinking that art wasn't for me. It was for a particular, it was for families with a particular income level, and it just wasn't for people like us, right? And that's the perspective and the that I really want to change. I don't want anyone to feel that way in San Antonio. Art is truly for all. And that's what drives my personal passion for having spaces like where we are today that's free and open to the public, where visitors and residents may be coming to Market Square and maybe they haven't been to a contemporary art space before. They walk in and they understand that, I don't have to pay a ticket to come here, and this is really truly for me. And that's how the public art program is as well. So that really drives my mission of bringing public art, yes, in the core of downtown, because we want people to know that our downtown is a vibrant place, but bringing public art into neighborhoods so that a child who's going to school or a parent who's driving to work understands that no, my city values me. And art is truly for me, and I can be inspired by this and understand an artist's perspective about how the artist viewed my community, how it's capturing this particular moment in time through this artwork. And again, that is, instilling a sense of pride. And what I love about our arts and culture scene here is that it is incredibly San Antonio.
Yes.
It's collaborative, it's community-oriented, it's family stories. It's something that even if you're not from San Antonio, you can resonate with. You can say, gosh, that reminds me of when I used to go to my grandmother's house and she would cook for me and she would say, like, food is love. I see that. It just really spoke to me when I moved here to San Antonio and I saw it through art. That was the first, the very first day I moved here, I walked down the Riverwalk and I'll never forget seeing an artist painting the Bexar County Courthouse. I truly thought that's happened. I was like, this happens every day. There's just artists setting up and painting. And that artist, and I laugh about it all the time because I just remember that I talked to him. I took photos of him. I was just so enthused to see this expression that I had been you know, a little bit devoid of growing up, you know, and not for lack of family trying. It was just that it wasn't really a resource.
Yeah. Well, that when you say expression, I think
Yeah.
as somebody who did grow up here and who has had family here for 5 generations, expression is exactly what I would say. And we grew up, you know, closer to downtown too. So it wasn't like we were farther out. And my parents really made an effort. We were just always downtown. We were always experiencing the tree lightings and the, you know, the parades and it gets inside of your soul. And then moving to, you know, other cities, you can be inspired by things and you can see things that are visually different than what you're used to, but then there's just something that calls to you that says like, San Antonio is so authentic and I didn't realize there was something imprinted on my soul that will never go away.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel as a native. And it's what has inspired me to pursue anything creative. And those initial little, you know, you're talking about children and their exposure to art, and that changes lives. And that's why what you are doing and what we're all doing, anybody who's creating here in San Antonio, it is critical that we create and that we inspire, because this is a really like it's so important to expose everybody possible to something that they haven't seen before, an idea, you know, a concept. And so I personally love, you know, my thing within Voice of San Antonio, my real mission is the arts and culture piece, because I'm so passionate about that. And I can remember being little, like, you know, 10 years old, being in the Nutcracker at the Lila Cockrell Theater. You know, those sorts of experiences are formative. And what lit up in my body when the orchestra tuned, you know, being 10 years old, stepping out on that stage and you're getting ready and you're in dress rehearsal, and it's like the first time you're doing something that is legitimate with the symphony in the pit and all this. And I will never, I can still like close my eyes and feel that. And I think that it's critical that we get children, you know, that instant, that first real inspiration to take with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And so I just am so, I'm in such admiration of the work that you and your department do. And as somebody who's lived here my whole life mostly, I didn't know that any of this it existed. I didn't know that you could get grants. I didn't know that the city supported arts and culture organizations in this way. And so I'm just really interested to learn about it. And it's such a joy to, you know, be telling these stories with you all, because more people need to know about this.
They do. And I'll tell you, I mean, it's children, it's all ages, really. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, there's core memories like you mentioned, and core moments that art is at the heart of it.
Yes.
I mean, my grandparents, I'll never forget, my grandparents drove down from Ohio over the Thanksgiving holiday when I first moved down here. And the very first thing we did is we went down on the Riverwalk, and it was like I planned it, but I did not plan anything. We hit that Riverwalk and immediately mariachi started playing. And the tears in my grandparents' eyes, I mean, I'll never forget that moment. And they've passed now, but I'll never forget that moment of them. Again, they were born and raised in the same community. They didn't, you know, we didn't really leave. You know, we didn't have money for vacations or anything. So it was just a pleasure for them to even come and visit. But to have that memory that I can, again, like you mentioned, your experience, I can close my eyes and I can see my grandparents' face hearing that music, the tears in their eyes. We went to the San Antonio Rose Live at the Aztec Theater that is no longer, you know, happening, but playing all this music from when they met, and again, seeing the tears and just these moments that are just like art is at the core of it. I mean, you think about birthday parties, graduations, celebrations, you know, even the sad moments like funerals. There's art that is a part of that, but even more in San Antonio. I mean, there's no celebration or moment in life that I've seen in San Antonio that doesn't have some kind of art component. I even joke about HEB has the best playlist I have ever heard. I mean, I want to stay longer sometimes when there's a song on the place. I'm like, HEB even knows what this is about, you know?
HEB definitely does.
So it's like, it's just everywhere you look, there's art. And what I also love about San Antonio is truly, I believe everyone is an artist at heart. Even if you don't think you are. There's an art to life. Yes. I mean, art is life. But when you're talking about professional artists, all you have to do is, I mean, if you may have a neighbor either right next door or just 3 doors down, there's an artist just everywhere you look in San Antonio, because it's a city that I feel like it's very encouraging of art. I think it's passed down in traditions. It's passed down in families. There's certainly so much more we can do to support the arts, which I know we're going to discuss a bit today. It takes all of us together. But one of the things that, again, is my passion is to let people know that we do exist as a department. These are the things that we provide artists. We provide grants, but we also have an artist registry, and it's free to artists. It's like a LinkedIn. It serves as a website too, so artists don't have to pay a website hosting fee. And it's also a place where if you're a business, if you're an individual, if you're another city department, if you're a convention or meeting and you need to find an artist, that's where you go to find it.
Wow.
Yes.
So the other thing that I've been thinking a lot about is, as somebody who was young here in San Antonio who wanted to pursue a creative profession, back many years ago, it felt like those opportunities were more limited than if you were going to bigger cities. And so talking about industry, right, and talking about creative economy, I'm very interested to hear, maybe some initiatives or your thoughts about, despite the fact that we have all of this rich culture and this authenticity and so much soul to our city, how does the Department of Arts and Culture work to really solidify that and advocate for the expansion of industry to bring that commerce and art together?
Yeah, so we do it in a number of ways. I mean, I've talked about the grants. I mean, that's just like a sustainable way for organizations to continue operations, and then our individual artist grants. But you're hitting a key component of just talking to businesses that might not directly be in the art space about how arts and culture can help a business, right? And in turn, the business can help arts and culture. So some of the conversations that we have, and we've seen more conversations arise after the pandemic, because truly, when you're talking about businesses reopening, we helped so many businesses that were reopening during, right after the pandemic, but people weren't coming back. Folks were using our artist registries to hire a musician or maybe some spoken word poetry to get people comfortable to say, hey, we're having this musician tonight, come out and see them, and also have a meal while you're doing it, because people were a little bit reluctant after the pandemic, rightfully so. And it was arts and culture that helped bring some private businesses back. And I really saw a shift, because it was something that we were pushing before the pandemic. Hey, other industries need to be involved in arts and culture. But it was truly when you lose something, you don't know what you have until it's gone. Yes. And people really missed arts and culture during the pandemic. I mean, we saw so many live streams and it was just arts and culture. Yep. I mean, I even talk about Netflix. Everybody was watching Netflix. Film was very important during the pandemic to keep us all connected. So that's what helped in a lot of my mind. We had so many inquiries from business. Hey, do you have a musician? We need to bring this business back. So I think there started to be a steady appetite and understanding about arts and culture. But that's what we're working to do now. We're working with businesses, whether it's other nonprofits, whether it's private businesses, developers, to say, hey, there's nothing like having a mural by a local artist to really establish this space. Whether it's your restaurant, whether it's any business, to say like, hey, it's also a placemaking initiative to say, meet me at this mural. Oh, you know where that business is? No, it's the mural here that, represents this. So that's what we're really starting to have those conversations. And we've seen a lot of private businesses invest their own money into murals. And then we find that once you work with an artist once, then it unlocks all the possibilities that come with it. And so a lot of our artists, again, if you're looking at marketing as a core component of any business, we have graphic designers that can help with marketing initiatives. It doesn't have to be an actual activation. It can be an artist having a unique perspective on how to market your business. I think it's really especially important in the food and beverage industry, and especially when we're, facing some of these economic challenges. It's like what really helps your business stand out in people's mind when, maybe they haven't prepared a meal at home and I just need to go get something and let's have a nice experience. Hey, let's go to that place that just is like a vibrant spot to go have a meal. So we're having those connections, and we're also connecting with organizations that are focused on entrepreneurship, teaching artists how to advocate for themselves, teaching them like, okay, you have the art, the artistry down, but how do you run yourself as a business? How do you market yourself? Because I wish that we could do it all, but simply that's not the way that it's supposed to be. It takes us all together to contribute to this arts economy, including artists. And so we're teaching artists skills about how to market, how to conduct business, how to connect. And then, being in those spaces where it's working with, entrepreneurship centers or small businesses centers and saying, well, there's an artist over here that can do that exact thing. So we have over $5 billion industry, which is, the creative economy is a $5 billion industry. But what I always say is that arts and culture industry touches every segment, because you're talking about advertising, marketing, videography. You're talking about murals in spaces, musicians. I mean, this creative economy impacts every sector. When you're talking about public art, we need transporters. We need contractors that are, really knowledgeable in construction, engineering. It takes everyone to make art happen. And that's what we're trying to just really communicate and create our own marketing to say, okay, this is what the work that we do with city dollars, but this is what's possible outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more that business owners are aware that they need creative people, Yeah. And I think before in the sort of the days of traditional media and traditional advertising, at least, the way that it used to be, you hired someone who knew how to advertise your business, and they put a billboard up and they, put an ad on TV or whatever. It's so much more integrated now with digital and just the way marketing has evolved. And I think that you can be an artist and a creative in so many different ways than, let's say, traditionally, a painter or this, that, yeah. You can help businesses market artistically. And I think that is where San Antonio is really going to be able to shift and ride this wave of all of this, growth that we've been experiencing. Is how do we merge the two, and how do we bring creatives to the business owners, and how do we bring the business owners to the creatives to make this the most, the most authentic extension and communication of who we are as a city and what our soul is. Artists and creatives have to help, communicate that to the world. And I think beyond of course, the historic and wonderful Riverwalk and the Alamo, San Antonio has so much to offer. And when you talk about visitors, and when you talk about tourism, and you talk about how tourism sustains everything in San Antonio economically, well, the more artistic and creative and imaginative we are, the more things that visitors have to come see and come experience, aside from the Alamo, aside from the Riverwalk, and the other, historic landmarks that we have. So that, to me, this is essential for us to be supporting and promoting and talking about and raising awareness about, because we have our museums and we have our institutions, but creativity is the lifeblood of this city. And how we support that and how we build further industry and infrastructure for industry moving forward, like, say, with film and things that are growing, is going to make or break how San Antonio grows into the future.
Mm-hmm. And you hit it perfectly earlier when you said, the authenticity. That's what everybody is looking for. And it's like a manufactured culture on a national and worldwide level. Yes. So it's like, what is true, authentic, and real? I'm looking for that. And, content creation is very important, but what I'm really focused on here in San Antonio that makes us different is because our content creation speaks to our authenticity, because our content creators are authentic because they're from San Antonio is just so it's just a real city. That's what I love. And so it's going to express itself on social media and digital, but when people come here, it's not going to be, well, it was advertised as this, and now I'm here, and where is it? You're going to feel it. What you're seeing on the screen is going to translate very well as soon as you step foot. We have a big airport expansion that's going to include a bunch of public art. As soon as you get in our airport, you're going to see it. And then you're going to see it as soon as you walk out those doors. So I think that's what's really exciting, is because, like you said, tourism is a very big industry. We have a big partnership with Visit San Antonio. They use a lot of artists in the promotion of their initiatives in our city, because that's what people are looking for. We have amazing hotels. They're amazing, and they have these great signature scents, and they have this signature soap. But I always say people don't come here for the soap and the soap dish. They come here for our culture and who we are. And it's just, all it takes is, thinking about, how do you, as an individual and a family, decide, where am I going to go on vacation? And I always want to live like a local. I think a lot of people are doing that. Again, not looking for that kind of manufactured experience. It's like, how can I live like a local and truly experience a place, because I want to feel an authentic connection. And so that's why our arts and culture, our artists, our arts nonprofit are so important to who we are.
Well, speaking about artists, local artists, there is something, this is kind of going into the holiday time of year. And we have been talking about how, to share the stories and the awareness of that there are holiday markets where all these artisans, you can support local artists, you can support local artisans. And as opposed to shopping bigger, consider, shopping local and supporting our local artists. And can you talk a little bit about the holiday markets?
Yeah, so there's a number of markets and also gift shops that happen. So you have the San Antonio Museum of Art, you have Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, you have, the McNay has a great gift shop. You have the Briscoe, you have tons of gift shops and markets that happen. And if you go to sa.gov/arts, we have an entire events calendar of all of the markets that are happening. But also there's individual artists that you can find on our individual artist registry that we have. Again, we have about 2,000 artists, and you can plug it in to find an artist that, may be painting a painting, or maybe even that have written a book. You can commission something new, or you can buy something they already have. And what I love about that is that, again, it's a unique gift that your loved one will say, oh, I couldn't get this anywhere else. And I think that what's really important, we always talk about the economy, where we are, what it looks like, to shop on, Amazon. It's convenient, yes, but it's just as convenient to just go a really short trip across, town, to just go to that holiday market and get something very unique that's not just a, one of a billion. It's one of a kind. And it can range anywhere. There's some things I've done for our team. There was one year that in the Southtown area, there was a holiday market happening, and there was an artist that was making custom buttons that were just like, they were just so cute. Each one was different, had a little motivational phrase on it. And that was just an easy gift for the entire team that I could just pick up and just have a button for them to just, a holiday gift, and also just to be encouraged. That was locally made by an artist. But you can think about, children. There's a number of children's books that have been created by San Antonio authors, illustrated by San Antonio artists. It could be anything from a book to a button, a necklace, a painting. I have previously commissioned a song by a musician about my dog. You can commission a song from a musician for a loved one too, and it's just something that you could listen to on repeat over and over again that they'll remember.
This makes me also think of sending our love to the performing arts. And I bet you can purchase tickets to, support our local performing arts organizations, the ballet, the opera, the symphony, the Philharmonic, the Orchestra San Antonio, and the Playhouse, San Pedro Playhouse. All these great organizations. I'm sure you can buy season tickets, or you can buy one-off tickets for people in your life who you want to send to have a cultural experience, something really special. So all of that's available too, and a great idea.
Yes. Magic Theater. If there's children involved, it's a great space to learn about theatrical productions. I mean, you're absolutely right. A lot of our organizations have one-off ticket sales, but wow, a membership would mean the world to someone. As the organization. And to the organization, yes. Because it really does, it takes a community to build arts and culture and to keep arts and culture. It's really important as we grow as a city to never forget who we are. And arts and culture helps us do that. And we can't lose that. I'm really privileged to work at the city because we have a very supportive city council and mayor that are committed to supporting the arts. We've looked at, we've got the max amount allowable from the hotel occupancy tax by state law. Now we're looking at other ways to uncover funding, and council offices in particular have started to use their funding to commission new art. So it's something that, again, it takes all of us, and we're always open at our department for calls by individuals, by businesses who may say, you know what, I want to commission a mural. How do I even get started? We are happy to have those conversations about, here's how you find an artist, here's some things you want to consider. And again, what we found is that once someone works with an artist one time, it just becomes this snowball effect of possibilities.
Yeah, I'm sure that you then, kind of start to imagine more possibilities of, hey, I've worked with this artist now, and it's less intimidating than I thought it was going to be. And now, boom, then the ideas kind of come from there. I'm very curious to hear what you are excited about, some projects that are happening with the city and the Department of Arts and Culture, some things that you're looking at toward the future that people should be aware of, and just, general momentum about this sector of the city.
What I'm very excited about, I mentioned our public art program and how we're doing more installations in neighborhoods. What I'm very excited about is that our team goes in and meets with community members. And if they haven't had a public art installation in their neighborhood before, there is a level of, what is this? Why are we using this money for this use? There's some other issues. And what makes me very excited for the future is that undoubtedly, even the most skeptical of individuals in those meetings turns into an advocate after they see the process, because we are very community driven. And what makes me excited about that is there's always new infrastructure projects that are discussed. There's always new development. And what we've seen is a huge growth in our public art program, again, from our capital improvement project budgets, but also council offices are committing funding. And now what I've seen is neighborhood associations coming together and saying, you know what, let's just raise some money and do some art. We have Beacon Hill applied for a grant, and they're going to be looking at doing some art for wayfinding around the roundabout area. A really vibrant
area. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's great. It's blowing up like crazy.
Yeah, and talk about arts and culture driving it, right? Because you have Clamp Light Studios there. You have Bright Coffee, which has art exhibitions and also swing dancing and coffee. I mean, it's just everything all in one.
That's such a great space.
And so we see that. And so that's what I'm excited about, is to, expand the knowledge that we've gained over all these years of doing this, and just handing everything over to say, let's bring this all together. So I'm excited about the growth of our public art program, about showcasing local artists more than ever, and then also getting that artwork in neighborhoods. And that's just going to continue, again, a snowball of possibilities, and then also having local businesses invest in that art. Another thing that I am excited about is looking at, we have our artist grants, we have our nonprofit grants. But there is a focus on how can we diversify our funding. We don't have it figured out quite yet in terms of, that perfect magic formula, but there's been some initiatives that have happened. There is a pilot program that is a digital media and art pilot program.
Cool.
And so there will potentially, with this pilot program, be some digital media that is put up around different neighborhoods in town. And 10% of the revenues of those media assets will come to our department to turn around and then give back out to community, to our organization. So again, growing the pot of money, because as our city grows, so should our arts and culture. Again, it's essential to keeping who we are as we grow. We've seen a number of cities across the country that they grow, artists are pushed out, and then you go back to that city for a visit 10 years later, and this isn't the city it once was. This isn't the city I fell in love with. We are really focused on not letting that happen in San Antonio. So excited about the growth of public art, excited about the growth of, additional funding sources. But I'm also a marketer at heart. That's what my background is in. I'm excited for everyone to know about how they can contribute to our arts and culture scene, to know who our artists are, how incredibly talented our artists are. We have artists that are showcased in other cities with public art projects and airports and convention centers. So excited for people to find out more about those artists here in our hometown as they start to unveil new exhibitions and installations here.
Well, I know you're so excited about, and you've worked so hard on the airport expansion project.
Yes, yes.
Share a little bit about why you're so proud of that.
Yes, so the airport expansion is something that I am beyond excited about. So we have this huge terminal development program. And again, we have our Percent for Art program. And what we've focused on at the airport is, we've met with more than 40 airports across the country. And there's definitely local artists in their airports, but there might be some really large commissions by artists that are, international or from other states, because when you do these call for proposals, some of these international artists have a really big portfolio. They have an entire team behind them, and sometimes they beat out local artists just because of the experience they've had that maybe local artists haven't had a chance to have. What I love about how San Antonio does it is we have a pre-qualified list that artists can apply to, that is pre-qualified by city council to work on public art projects. And what we've done for the airport is we prioritize local artists. So we open proposals up to San Antonio artists, because we're of the notion of when someone comes to the San Antonio airport, San Antonio artists should be featured in our airport.
Great. Love that.
So it's so far, and I mean, we have more research to do, but so far, we have not necessarily seen an airport that has done this. And we've actually had airports starting to contact us to say, how did you do this?
Wow.
And we're at the very beginning stages of working with artists, because it is a 2-year, we've been working on it for a long time, but about a 2-year period before you start to see the airport terminal open. But when it does open, what I'm excited about is you are going to see San Antonio everywhere, because we have the artists that can do major installations, whether it's an airport, a library, a park, or an exhibition space like this. And I can't wait for visitors to come. As soon as they step foot in the airport, I can't wait to see how they kind of stick around the airport for a while and say, oh, I'm having an entire art experience here.
It's great.
And have the airport be a museum in and of itself. So I can't wait. I'm going to look at the camera. I cannot wait for you all to see this. And bear with us. Public art takes a while, as construction takes a while, but when it does open, it is going to be absolutely beautiful. And there's going to be spaces that are for travelers that are, past security, but there's going to be art available to folks who are maybe just seeing their loved ones off, or, there's going to be a paseo area. There's going to be a welcome area where you don't necessarily have to go through security to see this. You can, pick up your loved ones and see this art. So it's going to be these great moments where I think once you step in our city, the moment you step in our city, you should be, seeing our artist.
I love that so much. And I commend you and admire you for really advocating for that, and at San Antonio artists to be connected to the world and the world to be connected to San Antonio in that way. I think as somebody who's so passionate, and I know we have geeked out about this together in person, like so passionate about this city and how globally amazing it is. You know, it can compete from its soul and from its authenticity and its culture on a global scale, but we oftentimes the messaging sort of falls short about that. And I think the more opportunities to put artists on a pedestal to where their work will be seen by people from all over the world and vice versa, you know, we are globally relevant. And I think, you know, working on content creation and storytelling with particularly Voice of San Antonio, that's one of our big missions, is to help bridge that gap. And, you know, having partners like you all and just finding out about what's going on in the city, that's something that's really exciting because it makes you realize like, oh, none of this is happening in a vacuum. Like we really are. There are so many wonderful people who are so passionate about San Antonio and bringing it to its max potential. And so I love hearing about the airport. I cannot wait for that to open. And, you know, I think there's going to be a nice lounge in that terminal too. So people who are global will have the full experience. And that's something that we also love telling the stories of. I'm fascinated by so many creative people that I've met lately that have chosen to move to San Antonio, who are coming from much bigger cities. And when they could live anywhere, they are saying, no, San Antonio is a wonderful place to live and you can live a global life from here. And so the airport expansion will help that tremendously.
Yeah. I mean, San Antonio is just, I mean, I can go on and on. I've been here for about 16 years and it just has this heart that is so special, very community oriented. I have family that are friends that have become family here, and I love my city. I love the opportunities I've had here. I will say that I think it reminds me of, there are a lot of similarities between the 2,000-person village in San Antonio, because I think it's very family oriented, but it's also a place of like humility and being humble. And I think sometimes when you're talking about historically the message, I don't know if we were beating our own drum because it's ingrained in us to be like, well, you know, my grandpa always said, don't get too big for your britches,
Exactly,
you know.
yeah.
But you know, there is I think that's why our department. I'm really excited about our department and organizations and platforms like yours, because we do at some point need to beat our drum and say, hey, you know, look at all that is here. Look how special this place is. And look how talented our artists are. And our artists are absolutely humble. We just had a public art installation dedication at Pearsall Park yesterday. It was one of the most humble artists you could ever meet, Dorotea Garza. And, you know, it's so beautiful to see like not only a talented artist, but a beautiful human have this installation. And it's hard for anyone, you know, to toot their own horn. So that's why we're here. We'll do it for you. And we'll tell everyone how amazingly talented you are, because you're exactly right. We want artists to have opportunities here in San Antonio, but we want that to be added to their portfolio so they can get an opportunity in Chicago and New York and, you know, I mean, others, Texas cities, Houston, I mean, whatever that looks like. We have a number of artists that call San Antonio home, but they're getting opportunities all throughout the world. And that's what we want for all of our artists. We want them to thrive here. We want them to continue to live and work and raise families here and continue our cultural history and cultural storytelling. And so that's why I'm super excited about your platform, about our department's partnership with your platform, about partnerships with Visit San Antonio and other entities that we can just say, look at the talent we have here. Come and invest in this talent. Come when you visit, make sure you take home a necklace or get a custom song by a musician, or you know what, you know, get that that this weekend there's a performance happening. Make sure you get there. And that's what's going to help our entire city thrive. And we're particularly interested in our artists and our arts organizations thriving as well.
I love that. Well, for those who are interested in, I should say, not only the visual arts, but I know you all support film and performing arts. And what are some other mediums that you think you're excited about the growth, for example, of the industry? Like, I know film is really growing.
Film is a very big one.
Yeah.
This year, the state legislature passed a historic bill, SB 2022, that provides $300 million for every 2 years in funding for a film incentive at the state level. And the film industry is definitely an incentive game. When you see a lot of productions with the Georgia peach at the end of the credits, because I am one of those people that stays till the very end of the credits to see who are they thanking, what logo are they using, and why did they go there instead of coming here, it's because there's incentives there at the state level. Now, what's really what I love about San Antonio is that in 2017, there was a film strategic plan passed that included a San Antonio local film incentive. And it was the strongest, for the past decade, has been the strongest film incentive in the state at 7.5%. And what an incentive is that once a production starts to spend a certain amount of money locally, ours is $100,000. Once a production starts to spend $100,000 on locations or catering or hotel stays or San Antonio resident wages, that unlocks that 7.5% rebate. And a production only receives it at the end of the project. They submit all their expenses to us. We evaluate all of it. And if they've spent over $100,000 in San Antonio, they get 7.5% back on what they spent. So if it's $100,000, it's, $7,500. Yeah. But what's interesting is that with the passage of the SB 22, other cities are looking at a film incentive. So Houston just passed a pilot program to have a 10% incentive in Houston. So we're going to be working with city council. We already went to one council committee to look at increasing our film incentive. We want to stay competitive. But there's also a workforce development component to that incentive where production, if they come to town, not only do they have to spend $100,000 on wages and locations, but they have to also have a workforce development component where they're having a workshop or a panel discussion, or even better, they're hiring interns from a number of our universities and colleges to come work with them. And they have to work with a college or university is what we're proposing to council to do. And so what's interesting about that is UTSA has a 4-year program. They have tripled their enrollment since it launched, since in 2022. People are hungry to learn about film. The state is now poised for a 10-year commitment to the film industry. And San Antonio is a place that we want filmmakers to come. It means big business. We had 1923 a year ago come and film on Broadway.
Yep.
They set up for a week and they filmed for a day, and they invested over $1 million in just that week.
Absolutely. Yes.
And it was all the local businesses there were paid to use their facades. And then, they were filming a New York scene in early September. And the scene was winter. So there were times when all of the cast, they would say, cut, they would run into a business, and there's a coffee shop there that made major money because the production has an open tab for the cast to, get a nice coffee so they can cool down a little bit between set. And so it meant major business for small businesses. And that's what we're really keen on. So what's interesting about as we prepare for film to come here is that if there are neighbors, residents, businesses that have a home, a business that could be used as a film location, and it doesn't have to be a pretty location. Think about all the films that you see out there, the horror films, the murder mysteries. If you have a back alley, a basement, a business that might not even have air conditioning, doesn't matter. You can list it on our website. You can find it at filmsanantonio.com. It's a free listing where you can list your locations, because we have producers, directors, location scouts all the time scouring that directory for anything that a script might need. When every time the state increases their incentive, we see our film permits, which we actually issue for city-owned properties, double every time they
Wow.
increase the incentives. So we have a lot of commercials that come here. We have a lot of travel shows. We had the 1923 production that was, again, showcasing how great our city can turn around a film production, and we're easy to work with. So that's a huge opportunity, not only from the incentive perspective, but also looking at how can we start to have some of these production spaces coming online in San Antonio to help support a long-term industry.
Yeah. Wow.
And again, it's travel, it's film tourism. There are folks who, I mean, think about how many people go to stand on the bridge where Jennifer Lopez was standing in the Selena movie.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
every time the river cruises come through, they look at Arneson River Theater. This is where Sandra Bullock was during Miss Congeniality. And those are, people really do travel to see film locations. When you're seeing a place on a commercial, a travel show, even a film production, it's big business immediately for small businesses. But then the tourism, again, we're always looking for getting tourists to come here, because it is hotel occupancy tax that is supporting our arts and culture. So it is a symbiotic relationship.
Interesting. I mean, and we have so many iconic spots for film. And that's what, as somebody who's grown up here and who is interested in media production, I keep thinking, somebody needs to shoot there, somebody needs to shoot there, somebody. And so it's exciting to hear that all of this effort and investment is being infused into growing film, because I see how amazing San Antonio would be as a film backdrop. And I'm hopeful that, it continues to grow and people from outside of San Antonio who are in the industry start to realize that San Antonio is a great place to shoot something.
Yeah, I think that we are a location manager and location scout's dream. And so we're continuing to have those, conversations, marketing. Our team is out at film festivals. They're in LA meeting with production companies, meeting with the most up and coming writer director. But I will say a thing about film is what's really exciting is that we have, just like any art form here in San Antonio, we have unbelievable filmmakers. And so we do have, one example is American Sons. It premiered at South by Southwest, received our artist grant. It is a very powerful story about a Marine from San Antonio who captured footage when he was overseas, and it talks about the struggles that veterans face when they come back to our country after a time of service. It is a really powerful, moving, at times hard to watch film, but a must-watch film. And that, again, premiered at South by Southwest. They are in consideration for an Academy Award. So we have folks that are living right here within our city limits that are doing unbelievable things, and I can't wait for their work to be seen by everyone.
Absolutely.
So that's another thing I'm excited about. Not only bringing industry here, but growing the industry that's already here.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, people who are here.
Yes.
I should say.
Yeah.
I was talking about other people coming, but yeah, there are many filmmakers and up and coming filmmakers and film students that, now have this opportunity to stay here,
Yes.
which is great. So now, just quickly before we sort of close this all out, we've talked about visual arts, we've talked about film, we've talked about local artisans and artists, and now I want to talk about performing arts.
Yeah.
So we have a narrative that we struggle a little bit as a city with supporting the performing arts, just with various things that have happened with, music and in our city's recent past. How do you champion performing arts, and what would you say is kind of a takeaway of like how people can really do their part to make sure that this cultural, really it's a gift, for our city? How can we sustain it together as a community?
So the very first thing, I will say the operational grants are very impactful to our organizations. for some context, a lot of grant makers, whether it be foundations, national, local, they're more project-based. They're asking an organization to maybe, do you have a youth program? We'll fund that youth program. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of funders that'll say, we're going to give you funding for staff, for office space, for the things that actually make an organizational run. That's why when we talk about operational grants, that's what we're talking about. And so that's what's really impactful with our grant making, is that it is operational support for a 3-year period, and you can use it. Most of our organizations use it for staffing because there aren't many grantors that'll do that. And with staffing comes programs. And instead of an organization chasing money that then they have to try to figure out, how are we going to staff this program? They already have the staff in place that then by nature bring in tourists, but then they can go ahead and create programming for children because they have the staff in place. So that's the core way. We also have, I always want to make sure that marketing, just like your platform, is very important to tell the stories of performing arts organizations and tell the stories that performing arts is for all, just like public art is for all.
Absolutely.
So even if you, let's just say there's a performance where you look online and maybe the tickets look a little pricey, I will tell you that every one of our performing arts organizations has a program that will help support a lower ticket price, or if a family needs some help to go, they want everyone to see this. I know that there's been organizations that have had free days, there's education days. A lot of these organizations also partner with other nonprofits to do some powerful things like bringing children that are impacted by the foster care system to performances. So these organizations are not just arts and cultural organizations, but the performing arts in particular, they are also social impact organizations. So I think that there is a stigma that we're working to break down of, again, that performing arts might not be for me. I assure you it is. And what I would encourage folks to do at the very first level, if you haven't been to one of our performing arts organizations, please do go. We'll go online. We have our website that has the events listing, but we also have a listing of all of our organizations that we fund, and also organizations that may not receive city funding, but we have a whole listing. And you can just learn more about the organization. It's a really great way to even just go online and just check the organization online first. Check out, hey, maybe there's a free event I can go to just to dip my toes into the performing arts world, because I'll tell you, visual arts is really impactful. Film is very impactful. Performing arts is very impactful, as you mentioned. Theatrical performances speak to you just like any other art form, and you leave thinking long after you see the production about what that topic is. Same thing with a musical performance. I mean, the tears that come to your eyes when you hear this full orchestra. Mm-hmm. It is magnificent, the opera as well. Yeah. And again, I just would always say, don't knock it till you tried it, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, don't knock it, because, again, I'm coming from a background where I didn't know anything about the performing arts. And as soon as I went to something like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And it is for me as well, just like it is for everyone. And these organizations know how important it is to support community, and it's important for us to support them.
And something about our performing arts organizations in particular right now, and the leaders that are there, I'm very pleased and inspired by their seemingly personal missions to program for the city, for the audience that is San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Like if you go to the Orchestra San Antonio concert, you'll see, oh my gosh, that speaks to my soul. If you go to San Pedro Playhouse, that speaks to my soul. If you go to, any of these organizations, they're really trying to speak directly to and relate to who is the theater goer, who is in the audience, in San Antonio, and what do they want and what are they inspired by and touched by.
Yes.
It's great. I think that makes for a very I mean, we've used this word constantly throughout this chat, but the authentic experience, And so then it does make you feel a sense of belonging, like, hey, this is for me. I resonate with that resonates with me. I've noticed that melody. I know my grandmother liked this, or I think it's really a special thing that is worth going and experiencing and supporting to be a part of that. It's a reciprocal relationship between arts organization and audience and vice versa. And they're really making an effort to be so localized in that regard.
And the collaboration.
Yes.
Again, there's so many things everybody has a hard time like defining like that feeling that you get in San Antonio, but it's authenticity, it's collaboration, it's community. And all of our nonprofit organizations collaborate because we know that we couldn't do this work without everyone working together. And so that's, like you mentioned, so unique that when you do go to a performance, you're going to see so many different aspects of our culture and who we are on stage. And I promise that it will move you. It'll be so profound, and it'll be that core experience and memory that you can unlock with your family and friends. And it doesn't take much to just start online first. Just do a little dabbling online there and check it out, and then truly just step your foot into a performance space, and you will not regret it.
No, absolutely. I think that's our, to kind of close this out is do what you can to pay attention to what's going on around you and what's being offered. Try it, and then go from there. San Antonio is such a vibrant, amazing city to offer such a unique experience to all of its residents. You just have to be willing to try and find yourself amidst all of the magic, especially coming into this time of year. I feel like it's totally unavoidable at the holiday time.
Yes, I am so excited about the holidays. Just because what I love the most about it is just working to find those special, gifts and memories to unlock using arts. I love this time of year. Like I used to, before I moved here, I used to dread it because I'm like, what am I going to get? Now I'm just, oh my gosh, what am I going to discover today that people are going to talk about for a couple of years, and just giving a gift to loved ones. And again, you're exactly right. And what I would just encourage folks to do is if you're interested in learning more and if you haven't dipped your toes into arts and culture, go to sa.gov/arts. You can follow us on social media at Get Creative SA. And just know that I moved here not knowing anyone. 16 years ago, I fell in love with arts and culture. Again, the moment I was walking along the South St. Mary Street Bridge and saw an artist painting, I would go to exhibition spaces by myself. I didn't know anyone. And I promise you'll find, your folks, you'll find a lot of kind people that are just willing to share their talent, to share the experience of arts and culture. Come to this space. We have another art gallery space behind City Hall at Plaza de Armas, but this space in particular is really open to the public Wednesdays through Sundays, and just come and experience Market Square in a way that you may have not experienced before by seeing some contemporary art in this two-story space, and then revisit some Market Square wonderful vendors that we have here, and just refamiliarize yourself with the city.
And being a tourist in your own city is always a fun way to spend a weekend. So thank you so much, Krystal, for coming to chat today. And tune in to Voice of San Antonio podcast on our YouTube channel and find us at voiceofsanantonio.com.